Hey everyone, Adam with Droid Media here, and today we're going to be taking a look at three really simple ways to create the tilt shift effect in After Effects. Now, each of these will only take you a couple of minutes, so any of them that you like, feel free to use. I'm going to go ahead and include the footage that I'm using today in this tutorial down below, so feel free to download it if you want. Here's what we're going to turn this into. We've got this, nice kind of miniature looking video here. People look small, cars look small, blah, blah, blah. We've all seen these tilt shift videos. They look great with time lapses and from something filmed at a higher up vantage point. But I've got this. Here's the original footage that I used, no tilt shift on it at all. And it's just a pretty boring time lapse, to be honest. We've got this roundabout here in my hometown that I filmed, and looks great, kind of a dreary day out, but you get a little bit of sun rays in here. And I wanted to spice it up a little bit, and I thought that tilt shift might be a fun way to do that. So what we're going to do is, I've already done this, but go ahead and do a new comp from the selection, or create a new comp and add the footage in. And you can see we've got this footage here. I'm just going to get rid of this little blip at the beginning. What we want to do, the first and easiest way that we're going to do this is we're going to go up to layer, new adjustment layer. Go over here, get this Gaussian blur. I've actually just typed in the word blur up here for right now because it's going to give us all the blurs that we need for this tutorial. Drop it on that adjustment layer. Tell it to blur it out like, I don't know, 10 pixels for right now. And let's go back to composition so you can see. So you can see that this is already blurred. There it is with it out. And the thing that you want to do is make sure that the repeat edge pixels are on, so it'll blur all the way to the edge of the screen. And then with that layer selected, we're going to go ahead and create a mask in here. Now, this mask right off the bat, you can see, gives us kind of the opposite of what we want. So down here under the control panel, I'm going to do inverted. You can see already that we've gotten a lot better of a result than what we wanted. Find out how big you want this, wherever you kind of want it at. It's really fun to kind of tilt these actually a little bit. So you see there's a little bit of a different plane here, kind of like what real tilt shift lenses do. And then under the mask, the next thing you want to do, feather that out. I'm just going to click 45 and give it just a little bit softer of an edge. And you can see within a matter of just a few seconds, we've already created a neat tilt shift effect. So that's probably the most simple way, and we'll get back to that one in just a little bit. Number two, with nothing selected, double click your shape layer icon to create a new shape. We want this one to be black, and then make sure nothing is selected. And we're going to do another one. We're going to make sure that the fill this time is white, and we're going to create kind of a long bar just like we did with the mask in the previous example. And what we're going to do is go to Gaussian blur, drop the blur on the white layer, and we want this one really blurred. I'll type 150 in here for right now. We do not want repeat edge pixels on this one. You can see what it'll do. So this is going to be the blur area, and if you want, you can tilt this one a little bit, however you want. I'm going to give it a little bit of a tilt, and then I'm going to drag it down. And back in our timeline, what we want to do is pre-compose those. Just click OK, and then what we want to do is find the camera lens blur. Drop that onto your actual footage. Make sure that this layer is actually hid. And then under the camera lens blur effects, you can see already that this is giving us some nice blur. Again, we want the repeat edge pixels on this one. You can adjust all of this stuff so you can tell it the shape of the bokeh and all these other things. I'm not really going to get into all of those right now. The main thing we want to do, tell this to select the mask or the matte from pre-comp 2, and you can see we have gotten the exact opposite of what we actually wanted. So now what we want to do is invert that blur map, and boom, we're back to a tilt shift effect, very similar to that first one that we got. This one is really simple as well, and it gives you some really nice bokeh, some really nice ways to adjust how the background is blurred like a real camera. It's probably the most accurate to a real tilt shift lens, but we don't have as much opportunity to edit some of the masks if we wanted to blur out like a full tree or something. So that is number two. And moving on to number 3, let's shy this camera lens blur here on this one. And this one is going to involve us duplicating this footage at the bottom. So here on my Mac, I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate it. And then what we want to do is on this top one, drop another Gaussian blur on the top layer. And let's get that down. Again, just tell it to blur out about 10 pixels, repeat those edge ones. And then with that top one selected, we want to select the tool, the shape tool, and make another mask as always. And under the mask feather down here, we want to expand that and then invert it. And you can see pretty quickly that that is our effect that we want. Give it a little tilt, move it around to kind of wherever you'd like. And there you have it. Those are 3 super easy ways that you can add the tilt shift effect into some footage. Feel free to use whichever one of these that you want. They're all different. One of the things that I find though to really help sell this is to kind of amp up the color a little bit. So what I like to do is I like this. I like the one with the adjustment layer the most. So I'm going to edit on this one. But let's go ahead and type in, I'm going to adjust the color a little bit and make it kind of pop out. We've got this model effect going on, and models are typically very brightly colored. They're kind of contrasty and fun and colorful to look at. So under the basic correction, I'm just going to pop that exposure up a little bit. I want this to be nice and contrasty, so I'll type some of these things in here. Might be a little much. Drop some of these highlights down a little bit. Shadows, pop those up in. Drop the whites and the blacks down a little bit. And then do 150 to start on contrast, or I'm sorry, on saturation. And yeah, it's pretty good. And you can see that it's not perfect, but it is looking really nice. I actually don't like how much this is blurred, so I'm going to drop that down just a little bit. But what you can do here is play with this, see how that looks. And then the other thing that I find that's really, really helpful is to really sell this is, we've got some trees here in the foreground, and with a real tilt shift lens, these would be blurred out. So, we just made this shape tool, or we just made this shape. We didn't add any vertexes or anything to it. But let's go ahead and do that right now. So if you hit G on the keyboard, what we want to do is we're going to make a couple of mask additions to cover up these trees. So if you just hit G, it's the add vertex tool. After you go over the mask, you can see that it adds a little plus sign. We're going to add 3 for right now. And I'm going to go ahead and hit V so I can move these. And I'm going to move these to kind of match the tree. I'm going to hit G again and adjust them to kind of fit that tree shape. And then I'm going to go do the same over here. Okay, so we've got those. And if you get rid of this mask, you can see this already has a nice effect to it. It's making just this section look in focus. But what we want to do is make sure that some of these trees that are in focus are all in focus. So again, we want to go in, add in a couple of vertexes for these trees, adjust them like so. And again, these are just some additional tips to help you really sell this tilt shift effect. So you can see immediately that this makes it look even more like a true tilt shift effect. And you can play through. So there you have it, 3 super simple ways to create the tilt shift effect in After Effects, and a couple of other tips on how to really sell it. If you liked what you saw today, go ahead and click like or subscribe for more content just like this one. Be sure to visit us on all of the social medias, and thank you for sticking around to watch this tutorial, and I will see you next time.